Hello, it's John Pollock and Wei Ting, and this is Review a Raw.
That's right.
An exciting show, Wei. We are in the midst of the build-up to SummerSlam on Sunday and about 8,000 hours that the WWE is going to present this weekend from Brooklyn.
And we will talk about 3 of those hours.
We'll talk about 3,000 of those hours, which was our main event tonight. But that is still to come. Tonight we were in Corpus Christi, Texas, which, Wei, when you outline cities that are usually terrible, Corpus Christi has a rep for being just awful for reactions, and I don't think they lived up to that rep on Monday night. I thought this was a surprisingly awake crowd in Corpus Christi. That wasn't even a joke. I'm being serious.
Oh. Okay.
Did you not think this crowd was energetic?
No, I didn't.
Really?
No, I didn't.
All right.
Especially for that main event. But
well,
again,
the main event does not count to anything on this
okay,
show.
Well, I mean, I don't necessarily blame the crowd for that, but yeah.
I was dying during that main event.
Yeah.
We will get to it. Seth Rollins was outside of the American Bank Center to start the show, and this was earlier in the day, and he is calling out the Demon King right now. You are more of an expert at this than me, but it
Demon Kings? Demons?
No, but in terms of Seth Rollins, it seemed that there was some dub when Seth Rollins said Demon King the first time.
What?
Go and watch this, okay?
Why would they need to dub that?
I think he said something. I don't know what it was, but it sounded like he had to redo this.
What could he have possibly said that required this type of technique?
I have a feeling that on the podcast version, people will hear this instantly and know what I'm talking about. There was a definite change in his voice where it sounded like it was just this is dumb. Who cares?
What? I'm trying to think of what he would have said instead that required them to dub
Maybe
it.
he said Demon Kane, to be quite honest with you. I don't know what he said. Okay. Maybe there was just a wind noise.
I'll have to.
It really sounded like his voice changed for Demon King the first time he said it. So anyway, he's looking for the Demon King, and that leads him to shout into the air, "Where are you, Demon King? Show yourself, Demon King." And then says he will seek him out and find him tonight. And the hunt was on.
Yeah. Well, we'll get into a bit more about kind of their handling of the concept of the Demon King. Yeah.
A very furious Rusev and Lana were inside the ring, and they are not going to leave because Reigns ruined a historical event last week with their wedding celebration, and Rusev says there will be no Raw tonight, and I was so excited. He said, "No stupid superstars unless Reigns apologizes." And Mick Foley comes out to a big Foley chant as Rusev says, "I know who he is," and says to Foley, "I lied about you being the best general manager ever. You suck." And Reigns does not deserve a U.S. title match. He says Stephanie's the real authority figure anyway and wants to speak to her. So Stephanie comes out, and whenever I see Stephanie approaching Lana, you know bad things can probably happen.
Or whenever she approaches any male member of the roster.
She was carrying her lady balls to the ring and calls this unacceptable, supports all of Foley's decisions, and Rusev demands respect. He is not going to give Foley any, and then threatens to call, quote, "the little Daniel and your big brother Shane" on SmackDown.
So it seems to suggest, I mean, this was not the only mention of a superstar having the freedom to go to a separate show, the other brand. So
yeah, contracts don't exist, I guess.
It seems to suggest that they can jump, and it's up to the talent themselves to jump.
Well, that seems weird. Why hasn't Cesaro bolted yet?
He mentions on the show why. I don't know, he says he was drafted by Raw and wants to prove himself on Raw, I guess.
Well, that seems to be a little confusing. So anyway, Roman comes out, and he's got this messed up left eye and says he's sorry that Rusev found the website where he got Lana from and said together they're going to make Sasquatch babies, which was definitely for you.
Yes.
Your love of the Sasquatch line.
I love this routine.
Again, I thought Rusev was great here. He just comes back at this lame joke and then calls Reigns a greasy pig who's a wannabe superstar who tries to be cool. The crowd is chanting USA. Foley stands in between them, and then Foley announces there will be a non-title match tonight, and instead it will be Rusev defending his wife's honor, which Mick Foley can sympathize with. Yeah. So we're going to get the match ahead of SummerSlam, and boy, would we get it later.
I was really hard on their segment from last week, the wedding, and especially the Roman Reigns character and him coming out cutting these jokes. I mean, I don't think that he's doing a terrible job with the material that he's given. I still don't think it's the right material for him. I don't think it's the right role at all for Roman Reigns. But I think the guy can come out and, do a decent job of playing that kind of sarcastic, comedic guy. I don't hate it as much now compared to last week, but I can't defend their making of this match and the justification for making this match 6 days ahead of them actually doing it for real, and for the reason of Lana's honor, the honor of my wife.
Well, she was dishonored. Rusev has to defend that, and he can't wait till Sunday.
And so, what exactly is in the contract for this bout? What exact? How do you encapsulate a woman's honor?
Reigns will be humbled, and therefore, that power leaving him will enter Lana.
It was, I mean, I was kind of just flabbergasted at them. First of all, making the match 6 days ahead of the show, and to come up with as stupid and as lazy and as ambiguous of a reason as for my wife's honor, I was not into it.
Byron interviews Sheamus in the ring. He says that he has proved he is more dominant than Cesaro after 2 losses to him and is moving on to face Sami Zayn tonight, and says that Zayn is very brave behind Twitter. And then the fans start chanting, "You look stupid." So Sheamus responds, "You people paid to see me, so who's stupid now?" Assuming that if you paid to see me, you're an idiot. That was his point he was making. If you follow this, Sheamus insulted himself worse than the audience did. And then we saw the tweet where Sami Zayn praises Cesaro, but also knocks Sheamus, and in true Twitter fashion tags Cesaro, but not Sheamus. So he's just a Twitter troll, is Sami Zayn. And we had a singles match between the two. Cesaro was on commentary and says that not a lot of people like Sheamus in the locker room. And this was when we had a rare WWE production snafu because the bug came up on the screen promoting SummerSlam, but an 8 p.m. start time for SummerSlam, which was later corrected for the bugs down the road.
So SummerSlam actually starts at 7 o'clock with a 2-hour pre-show ahead of that?
Correct.
So it actually starts at 5 for people who are really keen on watching everything?
Yes. Okay. There's nothing starting at 8 p.m. other than the second hour of SummerSlam, which is really the start of the 4th hour. It's crazy. Yeah. All right. This match continues. Sheamus attacked the left knee, stopping a dive from Zayn. Zayn did come back. He hit a Tope Con Hero after a clothesline to the floor. Cesaro talks about his match with Sami Zayn from the very first takeover in 2014, and Graves notes how Cesaro really likes to talk about himself. And Cesaro says, "Yes, that's right. I'm the guest commentator. What am I here to talk about?" And just shut him down.
I thought Cesaro actually showed a bit more confidence and
definitely
less humility and more, more of a willingness to talk about himself and promote himself. Which he and Sheamus tonight, I thought, maybe brought a bit of an extra edge to their mic work.
Then Zayn hit a blue thunder bomb, which Michael Cole identified as a Michinoku driver, and Corey Graves immediately noted was a blue thunder bomb. And Zayn gets a 2 count. The haluva kick, Zayn went for it into an Irish curse. Then as Sheamus is setting up for the brogue kick, Cesaro leaves the announce desk, distracts Sheamus, and Zayn hits the haluva kick and gets the win.
Yeah, I know this is how they like to book their feuds. They like to have guys cost their opponents matches in the lead up to it. That's how they like to build heat. But I feel like for this particular feud where you have 2 guys that are basically fighting to not get cut, 2 guys that are fighting to come up from the bottom of the card, I really don't think it's the healthiest way to promote their match, because
I want your standing on this roster to be as low as possible.
It feels like it just feels like an even bigger match between 2 of the bigger losers in the company, which I don't think is great. I mean, on the other hand, you have somebody like Sami Zayn, who's drafted higher than Owens, drafted higher than Cesaro and Sheamus here. And the guy, what's he doing at SummerSlam?
Nothing.
He's got nothing. His whole
Very poor follow-up after Battleground.
No, so like, why the reason to draft him as high as you did when you had no follow-up plan for the guy?
Yeah, he's just fallen between the cracks. He should go to SmackDown. Now it's your chance to be heard on Review a Raw. Each and every week, we're going to be giving away a t-shirt from Pro Wrestling Tees. All you have to do is cut a promo in 30 seconds or less and submit a video link at Law Radio using the hashtag PWTeesPromo, and we will be announcing winning entries each week on Review a Raw. Here is this week's winner.
This is Uncle D coming live from the show. The D stands for Diamond, baby. Right here, right now, I'm calling out Rick from Toronto. I'm tired of you wasting everybody's time. You're wasting Jason's time, you're wasting my time, and most of all, you're wasting John's time, and that's BS. You don't want to come out here for a match, a California backyard brawl? I'll fly all the way out to Toronto. I got a couple frequent flyer miles, and when I'm done beating you, I'm going to help Way clean up his mom's house, because that's how I roll. I'm coming for you, Rick.
Tom Phillips was with Chris Jericho and Owens backstage. They are being promoted as Jericho, and Jericho and Owens took turns calling him the wrong name. Jericho said that Owens versus Cass tonight is not going to be one-on-one because he has Owens back, and that they're closer than Enzo and Cass have ever been. And then Jericho questions who even certified Enzo as a G. And then Owens notes that you can't teach Cass how to spell soft. And he knows that, and English isn't even his first language. And they continued to call Tom different first names, and Owens calls Enzo and Cass cancers in the locker room. I thought everyone was great here, including Tom Phillips, who plays the best straight man in the company.
I thought his name was Todd. Like, they didn't call him Tom, and I was like, oh, they're making fun of Todd. I thought his name was Todd. I can't even remember his name.
No, it's not Grisham.
I do love these two together, Jericho and Owens. And you're right, Todd did a good job here as well.
You called him Todd?
Yeah.
Okay, you did that on purpose. I see. Sheamus and Cesaro are separated backstage with Mick Foley in the middle, and he's had enough of it. He says he mentioned Cesaro's shoulder of why he drafted him late, and Sheamus's head not being in the game, and he says both of them have corrected those issues. The shoulder's fine, and Sheamus's head is back in the game.
Perhaps that's them backtracking and realizing, hey, we shouldn't have said that.
Well, it's not like anyone even remembered it, I don't feel. He says he will not allow any more interference, so his solution is that these two are going to have a best-of-7 series starting at SummerSlam, which if I'm Cesaro, I'm pissed. I've just beaten this guy 2 times in a row, and they don't count. And now we're going to be given possibly 7 more matches between these two.
Yeah.
Shoot me in the head.
See, I typically look forward to best-of-7 series. I think anything that involves the competition and more of the sporting aspect of pro wrestling, I think is usually a healthy thing. I just simply wish that,
I feel I've seen this match a dozen times already.
I feel like I wish it wasn't necessarily with these two where we feel like we've already seen them so often. It's not as fresh. And, you're telling me that the series doesn't even start yet? And I'm already kind of tired of seeing
I'm burned out, and we're not at match 1.
So, but I do, if they're going to go through with it, I feel by the end it will be worthwhile because I think the stories kind of write themselves with these best-of-7s where you're forced to do long-term booking, and, it gets paid off in an extended amount of time.
We had the return of Dr. Gallows and Dr. Anderson, who were on the Titantron after Kofi and Xavier came out, and they must have thought this was a big hit last week. I know Dan Lavransky enjoyed this segment a lot.
I think a lot of people enjoyed this, which I'm baffled by.
Well, they are still trying to find the cure for ring postitis. They said they haven't hit the sack in their tiring research. They said the ball's in our court, and they are well endowed with the best research out there. And then they put the egg that is in the jar of Big E's into a microwave, and they hit a button that I swear to God read NADS on it.
It said NADS on the microwave?
Yes.
Where did they get this microwave?
They had someone put a piece of tape and wrote NADS on the power button.
Well, I do appreciate the amount of detail that went into that, and I hope they would have put as much detail into the booking of some of these storylines.
So then we had to go back to Kofi and Xavier taking on the Dudley Boys, and Corey Graves notes how, with Big E injured, that the New Day can ill afford a loss here because they are already down a member, which I thought was maybe one of the outtake lines that didn't make it into the prior segment. Devon is in control with Xavier, but then accidentally runs into Bubba. Kofi is tagged, hits the Trouble in Paradise. Bubba is annoyed, and Kofi gets the win for his team at 1:35, and continuing our dissension amongst Devon and Bubba. Mm-hmm. Will the breakup happen in the same arena next week, where they made their return last year, the night after SummerSlam at the Barclays Center? 1 year later, Bubba destroys Devon.
I think that would be nice.
And takes him out.
Sure. That's nice and poetic.
They should do that on Raw next Monday. That would be the Raw to do it on.
Absolutely. Yeah.
They go back to Anderson and Gallows, and the egg has exploded in the microwave. I guess we're still to believe that this egg represents his testicle that has fallen off.
Obviously, yeah.
Okay.
What else would it be? Just egg?
I don't know. I'm looking at this white circular object. Of course it's Big E's testicle. He calls it a ball buster, and they're going to have to find more test subjects, and they have 2 smaller mason jars with Kofi and Xavier's names on them. I got it. Dicks.
No balls, actually.
Okay, sorry. That'll be the next escalation of the feud. Kingston and Woods are in the corner, and they say they have traveled all over the world, and Anderson and Gallows are now blowing up eggs in a microwave. They won the titles at SummerSlam last year. This is so stupid. This is such a stupid feud, and they're trying to make it semi-serious here.
I think the joke is John Pollock having to recap.
I guess it is.
Yeah.
They said they have the power to overcome, and Anderson and Gallows do not have the power to take away their titles and cannot get a hold of their New Day rocks.
Yeah, some funny lines.
This Friday, Review Away returns as Wei Ting and I will be reviewing SummerSlam 2000 from Raleigh, North Carolina, headlined by The Rock, Triple H, and Kurt Angle for the WWF title, and featuring the first ever TLC match with Edge and Christian, the Dudleys, and the Hardys. It's Review Away this Friday at liveaudiowrestling.com and iTunes. Seth Rollins is searching backstage for the Demon, and he runs into Neville, who's just hanging out, and says that Rollins isn't ready for the Demon, and Rollins sends him back to his hobbit hole, and I guess that's where Neville went, because he had no response to this other than, okay. Nia Jax against Rachel Levy. Byron interviews Rachel, who has been watching the Summer Olympic Games, as were probably 30 other million Americans on Monday night. And she's been watching them nonstop, which is a lie.
Whoa.
She's like, I've been watching the Olympics nonstop.
Okay, because she's here, you mean?
Yeah.
I guess. Well, yes.
She says Team USA has taught her that she can do anything, and that she puts her mind to, and she's going to take home gold tonight. Not understanding the concept of professional wrestling in this match with Nia Jax.
Metaphorical.
A lot of metaphors, I guess, here from Rachel Levy.
I like the jobber interview here. I thought
she had a lot of energy.
Yeah, her role was to come out here and be super earnest and optimistic.
Get people to root for you in 30 seconds.
Yeah, I don't know if anybody was rooting for her, but, she made it seem like she really believed it. And, I especially like it when they continue to do these interviews in the middle of the entrance so that nobody live gets to hear them, because it just accentuates their lack of importance even more. And it makes them seem like even funnier jobbers. So,
do you think the audience couldn't hear this?
No, they definitely couldn't.
That's kind of stupid.
This was played over the music. No, it's not.
The whole point of this promo is to get the crowd to get behind this girl.
No, that's not the point of these. The point of these, no one's getting behind that first dude from that Braun Strowman thing. No one's getting behind him.
This whole promo way, that's why you heard the promo.
This was
to get the audience behind her.
This was done almost sarcastically. This was done to be like, haha, look at this person who thinks they're about to win, but she's really about to get her ass kicked. These aren't babyface promos at all.
I think you're missing the point of what they're trying to do here.
No, I think you're missing the point.
All right. Well, this thing went a minute, 2 seconds.
We should put up a poll. Who's right this week, me or John?
Another Anderson Gallows joke. Levy got seated on the top and shoved down to the floor, and then was brought in, and there was a slam off of Nia's shoulders for the win.
Same thing as Strowman.
With less fire than Strowman.
Far less.
I miss Braun Strowman on this show, and I never thought in a million years I would say that.
Far less. I mean, I feel like Nia, as we said, is still a far, far ways away from being ready. And I think unlike Eva Marie, I don't think the bells and whistles for Nia Jax are nearly as compelling enough to, or even as fitting enough for the character to make me feel as entertained or optimistic about her.
Did you see the shirt they released for her?
Nia Jax?
They have a shirt released where it just has the text on the front saying, "I'm not like most girls." And it was available. It was women's and men's shirts. So then they had to change the men's one, and it's the men's shirt now just reads, "I'm not like most." Sam, you got to buy one of those, okay?
Anyway. They got to
Anyway,
release 4 versions, I feel. Like for, and then they have to release the 5 versions. Because some people don't identify
well, after
as any
Stephanie
gender.
did that speech last week that they're going to be incorporating, the lesbian, gay, bisexual, transsexual community.
Yeah.
I mean, that shirt's going to probably upset someone.
That's why I'd have to release probably like 10 versions.
Yeah. You can check out The Law's YouTube channel at youtube.com/liveaudiowrestling. Subscribe for all of your free videos, including Ask Away, interviews, and much more. Brock came out with Paul Heyman, and this started the second hour. And this crowd, they were so happy to see this guy. Yeah. This was not like just starstruck. It was genuine admiration. There were people just there clapping, and Brock had the biggest smile I've ever seen on his face, maybe as much as the UFC 200 post-fight press conference.
That was interesting because I don't think Brock usually comes out, all smiles like that. Brock doesn't usually walk out.
I think he was honestly reacting. This crowd was just like, they were so happy for this
I feel
guy.
like they're like that every week, though. Because he's a legitimate mainstream celebrity.
Well, this Corpus Christi crowd, they just love this human being. So they're all chanting Suplex City to the point Heyman has to wait as they're chanting. And then before Heyman can even start, Heath Slater comes out. And Heyman is just dumbfounded at what has this guy done coming out to bother us. And Heath says he doesn't know about that SmackDown Live crew. They wouldn't know a super duper star if it hit them in the face. And Slater is looking for Heyman's assistance. And Heyman laughs him off and clarifies, "I am laughing at you." And Slater says that he will get a Raw contract and a SummerSlam appearance if he can beat Brock tonight, and asks Heyman if he can have a match with Brock. Heyman says that you've been doing too much partying on the Freebird tour bus here in Texas. And Heyman turns away and says to crop out Slater and crop in the money as he goes to start his promo. And Heath yells not to disrespect him. He has kids that rely on him, and all the other kids he has that rely on him as well, and knows that Lesnar will whip his ass, but he still has to face him. So Lesnar then takes the mic, and the people are just in awe that Brock is going to speak.
Rarity.
And the people react here, and he says Slater does have guts, and he can sympathize because he has kids too. And he brings Heath into the ring and then looks him in the face and says, "I don't give a about kids." And he offers the 2 different options for Heath. He can walk out, or he can stand there and keep pissing him off. And Slater goes to leave, but then attacks Brock, and Lesnar just kills him with a lariat, 2 Germans, and an F5, and sends him to the floor. And Heyman gives him credit for standing up to Lesnar. Orton doesn't have the guts and cannot measure up to Lesnar, and cannot build up Randy Orton as even having a chance at SummerSlam. He says this is the summer of the Conqueror, and he is in heat. Lesnar is the box office, he says, and no member of the locker room can stand up to Lesnar. You should subscribe to the network to see SummerSlam because it's a chance to see a once-ever athlete with a result that will go down in history with the greatest athlete, and he is the Viper Slayer, Brock Lesnar. And they depart.
I really like the segment. I thought this was better than your typical, Brock Lesnar and Paul Heyman segment where Paul just kind of comes out talking a lot. I thought the addition of the physicality, using your comedy guy, I thought it really helped Brock. Brock's speaking role here, I thought was played tremendously. I thought his acting was great. He really knows his character, and I think because we rarely see him speak, when he actually does it, we forget that this guy is actually a very capable performer on the microphone now at this point. So he really impressed me. I thought Heath, gained a lot here as well. I mean, I feel like he's not necessarily getting huge cheers, but I feel like he's almost being positioned as a bit of a baby face right now, and I think he's getting over in the same way somebody like a Damien Sandow did.
So afterwards, Enzo and Cass come out, and they state that they're going to have a SummerSlam barbecue on Sunday and go through all the things they will be cooking, and the main course will be 2 pieces of Canadian bacon. Cass ends the promo, calls them Bert and Ernie again, and then out come Kevin Owens and Chris Jericho for our singles match. Owens kicks away at the left leg, and Cass then goes to the floor. Jericho attacks him. Cass gets sent into the post. They go through a commercial break. This was when the SummerSlam bug was corrected to a 7 p.m. start time. All those confused people out there.
Yes.
Owens went for a cannonball right into the boot of Cass. There were 2 splashes by Cass, then missed a big boot, landed on the floor. Jericho attacked Enzo, so Cass went after him, and it led to an attack by Owens. Jericho attacked Cass for the DQ, and then they double-teamed Cass, sent him into the barricade. Cass fights back in the ring by himself, and it ends with a code breaker to Cass, and the heels stand strong. And this kind of backed up the heels' point that Enzo's a bit of dead weight here. He was just dead on the ground for this whole post-match beatdown. Cass had to fight them by himself. Enzo was just dead.
Yeah.
This turn will come one day.
Yeah, I mean, it has to. It would have to be Cass that would turn, though.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, the match wasn't much, but I like the program, and, I think it's a pretty decent mid-card tag match.
Yeah. I don't see this on the kickoff show, but I could see this.
No.
I could see this opening SummerSlam.
Yeah.
The 7 p.m. portion.
I mean, they have 4 hours to fill.
Wait, they have 6.
6 hours to fill. So what actually gets on the kickoff? Obviously, the first of the best of 7.
We're getting Darren and Titus. Guaranteed.
Darren and Titus.
Sheamus and Cesaro will probably be on the kickoff because that can eat up a lot of time, too.
Yeah.
They could do 15 minutes on the kickoff. Mm-hmm. So there's probably going to be at least 2, if not more, matches on the kickoff show. Yeah. They've got 10 announced. And the big 5 matches on this show are all going to get time. The women's title, Cena Styles, Orton Lesnar, and the 2 world title matches. Those are all going to get a lot of time.
World and Universal.
Oh, sorry.
Whoa.
I'm sorry. Let's not limit ourselves on Raw. Afterwards, Tom Phillips is with Reigns in the back. He's going to represent his bloodline tonight and whoop Rusev's ass. He's ready for a food fight, a wedding cake fight, and he wants a big fight. Rusev attacks him from behind. Reigns fights back, and then Reigns gets sent into this steel door.
With aluminum bars.
Ooh, for effect.
Aluminum bars.
And then he gets tossed onto a table as the 2 are separated. I was thinking, okay, this is it. The match won't be happening.
I thought they were actually going to have a food fight.
That's what they should have done on Monday.
Yeah.
That should have been the go-home
That
angle.
should be the SummerSlam match.
The food fight.
Yeah, the U.S. title match could have taken place on Raw.
Brooklyn food fight.
Brooklyn food fight. Cake, it all writes itself.
They could have.
Hot dogs.
That's what's going to build up the Dudleys. They're going to bring back the fish market street fight that they had in TNA.
Oh.
Against whoever they did. Shark Boy.
Don't remember that.
The announcers plug all of this week's programming on the network, including Holy Foley, with 5 episodes going up on demand on Sunday. Way, are you going to be watching any of Holy Foley?
I'll check out the first episode. Sure.
Just an ungodly amount of hours. I don't know.
We're going to get a weekly review? Just like, you don't have to watch the G1 anymore, so you can do a Holy Foley podcast.
I'll leave that one to you. I feel you're more in tune with the reality programming that WWE puts out.
Yeah, I get the garbage. You get the serious wrestling. I get it.
We'll also get Legends with JBL on Friday night with Sting as part of the programming.
I like this little portion where they just ran through everything that was premiering every single day. I thought it was nice and effective and simple.
I love Byron saying about Talking Smack, where we will be chatting about SmackDown after it concludes.
Yeah.
Darren Young and Titus O'Neil are back together. They made up on the pre-show, and they're going to reunite the primetime players tonight for one night only against the Shining Stars. The highlight being the millions of dollars dance with Bob Backlund, where I thought he was going to pass out. Mm-hmm. They have the advantage on Epico. Primo comes in, drop kicks the knee of Titus. Then Young is in, and he accidentally knocks Titus off the apron. Titus snaps, hits the clash of the Titus, leaving Darren prone in the ring, and Primo pins him in 241 as the Shining Stars pick up a victory, and Darren Young and Titus O'Neil, maybe they're going to have a best of 14 series.
I think we're already on like 25.
None of those count.
I think this whole feud is just a huge dud. Somebody needs to turn heel. They're trying to do a double babyface thing, but it's not very effective when neither guy is over. And they're unwilling to turn. They're unwilling to go heel with either of them, and it's just the whole thing just sucks.
There is a promo for the Cruiserweight division coming to Raw, and then Jinder Mahal took on Neville. Neville got into the ring, and as he's going to pose on the turnbuckle, he trips, and he just stood there, and I think everyone was worried, oh my God, he messed up his ankle again. But then he just paused, and then jumped onto the turnbuckle and appeared to be fine. But the world just stood still for the man for a minute. There was a head scissors that sent Mahal to the floor. Then he drop kicked Mahal off the apron and hit a corkscrew moonsault from the top to the floor. Mahal then rolled away in the ring, hit Neville with a boot to get the brief advantage. Neville came back with a pair of spin kicks, an enziguri from the apron, and hit the Red Arrow for the win in 2 minutes and 56 seconds, as this guy is just, I guess, waiting for this inevitable Cruiserweight division. At least I hope that that's something for him.
I wonder if that's even the goal that they have for him.
If it's not, my God, is this guy wasting his time on this brand? Like,
yeah. I'm sure a guy like Neville, especially coming out of NXT, probably had higher hopes than being just another cruiserweight. You know what I mean? Even at this point, I feel
he's just another guy at this point.
Certainly. But, in ring, he is so good, but I think they need to add something to this guy, to his personality, maybe a mouthpiece, maybe a tag team partner.
Bob Backlund.
Of course, yes. But just the guy needs some extra dimension to his character, because right now he's just kind of a faceless high flyer.
This Sunday night, the Lost starts at a special time of 11:30 p.m. Eastern Time, right after the SummerSlam pay-per-view, with a full, extensive rundown of one of the biggest events of the year for the WWE. Plus, we'll chat TakeOver, UFC 202, and much more. It's a special 2.5-hour edition of The Law, Sunday night at 11:30 p.m. Eastern Time at liveaudiowrestling.com and TSN Radio. Foley and Stephanie are in their office, and Foley just got off the phone. Jon Stewart is going to be their guest at SummerSlam, and Stephanie just goes, yes! She was so happy about this. Jon Stewart will be there. So Rollins walks in, and he can't find the Demon King, and he just like the night off. So Stephanie's like, yeah, we don't really have much for you tonight. Foley's like, yeah, I guess. But you should go out and call him out from the ring. That is the most likely place to get a response, which is very true in wrestling history. Unless Rollins is scared, and Rollins is not scared. And then Foley pulls out a walkie-talkie and says to play Rollins' music, and it played as they went to break.
That's how you run a show. Yeah.
After 23 years, someone on this production team said, you know what? The music just plays out of nowhere. Should we not have some quality control here for what? How wouldn't anyone know to play the music as this guy leaves the office?
Yeah.
So there you have it. This walkie-talkie should be on standby for all these segments, for impromptu matches and appearances. They had a SmackDown ad for Tuesday's show promoting John Cena against Alberto Del Rio, the culmination to what started at Hell in a Cell last year and Del Rio's return. Plus, Ziggler will be on Miz TV. Cool. Cancel your plans on Tuesday night. You've got a program to watch. Seth Rollins.
I don't have plans because I do have to watch that for our review of SmackDown.
Seth Rollins comes out and he alerts all of the news outlets that are not watching Raw. CNN, Fox News, and then brings attention to Jonathan Stewart and John Coachman. He says no one can stop him from becoming the first Universal Champion. He gives the Demon one more chance to come out, and he laughs as nothing happens. He says Finn Balor's trying to intimidate him because he's scared of Rollins. He's just another chapter in the book of Rollins. And then a fan charges the ring, and they go in super close on Rollins, so you can't see this guy. And Seth is just dead-eyeing this guy. And Michael Cole just says that Seth Rollins is in a trance.
He's placed in a trance. As if nobody could see what was actually happening.
No.
Come on.
And then Rollins, you can not literally, see the wheels turning in his head of how he's going to play off of this. Yeah. And He had a pretty good play off of this guy saying,
Yes.
is this the Demon King? Is this him? Took him a few seconds, but he recovered very well to something that was definitely a curveball being thrown into your segment.
Absolutely.
So some idiot runs in. These are times where I miss the old days where a guy would just stomp the hell out of a guy. Those are the good old days.
Yeah.
Get a heel over.
Like that.
Kick a fan.
That Triple H and Stone Cold video from '96. Did you see that? Circulate online.
No.
Germany.
All right. Well, there were many of them. Eddie was always great with it. Eddie would kill guys.
Oh yeah.
I want to have that montage together. Guys beating up fans that charge the ring. The lights flicker. Then a distorted voice speaks over the arena, and the lights go out, and the music begins, and out comes the Demon King, who does his full entrance. Got a good response for the reveal. They had a stare down. The crowd was chanting, "This is awesome." They traded strikes. Rollins avoided the reverse Bloody Sunday and then hit a running drop kick. Rollins got hit with the running drop kick, and then he got out of the way of the coup de grace, and Balor ended this with a tope con hero to the floor. What did you think about giving away the entrance on Raw?
I was expecting not to see it until SummerSlam itself. I don't mind them doing it here. I guess their thinking is, they want to show people who aren't familiar with Finn Balor that, hey, he's got this other aspect to him, other side to him, rather than anticipating people, be aware enough that they'll pay to watch him on Sunday.
Maybe they'll have an elaborate version of the entrance on Sunday, something above what you just saw on Raw.
I doubt it. I don't know how much more elaborate they could make compared to this.
Yeah, maybe he's going to descend from the ceiling or something. I don't know.
I highly doubt
Maybe he'll fly.
That. So you could tell from watching this that much of the crowd is still unfamiliar with Finn Balor and probably a little taken aback. I mean, they probably know that this guy has this whole demon thing, but I feel like they probably could have done a better job explaining the concept of the idea. I mean, I thought last week was really good, and I understand that they probably have, they're kind of rushing this guy to the top very soon, but I think a lot of people were just thinking, wow, this guy looks cool, but what exactly is the storyline reason for this? And I thought Corey Graves actually did a good job explaining it after the fact, saying how it's a side of him that he has to tap into. The problem there, though, is they never put Finn Balor into a dire situation where it justifies him calling on the demon to help him give this extra weapon to beat Seth Rollins. He was doing fine, even prior to becoming the demon. So I think it would have been more effective had you had, Seth Rollins beat the guy down last week or something.
He needs to come through a wall like Stranger Things.
I haven't seen it.
Oh, we'll watch that. That'll give you inspiration for a Balor entrance.
How would they do that live? Walk through a wall.
You could have the screen, have it just open up. He comes through. And they fight in the upside down.
I understand they've kind of exhausted the turn the lights off and have the guy appear thing, with multiple people on.
Graves was good here for this demon introduction because I was just in my head imagining JBL and Lawler reacting to this guy.
Graves clearly, the guy's very smart, and he's been invaluable to Raw, I think, especially for a guy like Finn Balor. You can tell he has a great, solid grasp of what the character is. I don't so much think... I really do wonder what Vince thinks of it. I don't know if he really fully understands it. Yeah.
For more of Wei Ting and myself, you can catch Review a SmackDown each and every Wednesday morning. Simply go to liveaudiowrestling.com or subscribe for free to Live Audio Wrestling on iTunes. The Golden Truth took on Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows. They came out with their jars, which were placed at ringside. Very quick match. Goldust and Truth got in some offense. The Pokemon gimmick is done, and they got beat with the Magic Killer in 2:17. Then Kingston and Woods ran down, attacked them. They got the trombone, and were going to attack Carl Anderson's balls, but Gallows pulled Carl to safety, and they left with Big E's jar. Charlotte's backstage with Dana Brooke. She apologizes for losing to Sasha and being banned from ringside this Sunday, and Charlotte says how she took Dana under her wing, shared the spotlight with her, and then she failed when it mattered most, and says, "This is my spotlight, not yours," and that she is Meryl Streep and Dana Brooke is Anne Hathaway, and might ask for a replacement after she wins the title back, and that Dana is an epic failure. Alicia Fox took on Charlotte with Sasha Banks on commentary. There was some very clever editing of the slap from last week by Charlotte to Dana from ringside. They did a cutaway as Charlotte was going to slap her. I mean, it still looked awkward in the edit, but much better than it appeared live last week. So Sasha Banks is on commentary, calls Dana Brooke Miss Piggy, then gets upset, saying, I was the first one to help Charlotte in NXT. And then Cole asks if you retain the title, and Banks cuts her off, saying, when? If I retain the title. And then is asked about having a party afterwards and says, of course, I'm the boss, and asks Corey Graves if he's received her invitation because Byron is not invited. This woman, if you had never watched Sasha Banks, she is such a heel in this entire commentary that lasted. I was so glad they did the angle at the end of this because it was jarring to hear her.
Well, and we've talked about this. The problem is the character itself is one with attitude and with edge. And, I don't think, though, she's not a babyface, I don't think, because of the character. She's a babyface because she's been having great matches in NXT. Because in her interviews, she's been talking about how this is her lifelong dream, is to become WWE champion. I feel like they haven't really incorporated that aspect into her babyface character. They're just kind of running with the heel mannerisms, which might not necessarily work completely.
The camera was on Sasha as they had to cut back as Charlotte was in mid-move hitting the natural selection and got the win in 1:28. So Banks goes to the ring. Then Dana runs down to distract Sasha, allowing Charlotte to clip the knee and apply the figure four as Banks is tapping away. Charlotte won't release it, and then finally lets go as Sasha is grabbing her right knee, and the crowd is chanting, Charlotte sucks. So a good angle at the end, and you can play this the knee story on Sunday.
Yeah, it was decent. I think the program I'm not necessarily blown away by, but the match was so good the first time, I'm really looking forward to the next one.
They were doing a promotion with Carl's Jr. and Hardy's, and the trivia question was, who held the U.S. title for 351 days? The answer was the SmackDown champion. Of all the people, this had to be our trivia question. I felt that I really felt on this show they've kind of given up on this competition idea. I really don't get the sense that...
It's been 1 week. I mean, last week we had Daniel Bryan show up.
Last week was almost as much just to show us that we are not even going to try and present this as... we are going to put people on other shows. We're going to reference the other shows.
Well, hold on a second,
we are not going to bend over backwards for this fake competition that no one buys anyway.
I don't completely agree because they didn't have Randy Orton on the show. I thought this program really, that match really could have benefited with a Randy Orton interaction with Brock Lesnar in the go-home segment. But the fact that they didn't have it suggests to me that they have at least some level of respect for the separation.
Yeah, I don't know. I really don't. I'm not even expecting much, but I don't feel they're going to go out of their way.
This is so minor, though. It's a trivia question.
That, to me, is my point. It's they don't care. That's my exact point.
But I mean, it's like having Hulk Hogan be an answer to a trivia question when he was working for TNA.
Is Hulk Hogan on the supposed competitor's show?
When he was, I feel like they still would have.
Wait, we saw a video package specifically edited 2 weeks ago on the Teens Choice Awards to edit out John Cena. Yes. Okay, so if I'm going to praise that level of detail, I'm going to criticize this. Okay. They did a video package on Braun Strowman killing guys. Lana's in the ring to bring out Rusev, and then him and Roman go at it for 5 minutes before we go to our first commercial break.
The match doesn't even start yet.
We never did hear a bell. I guess it went off during the break. One of many breaks during this match, and it was Rusev in control here and attacking the left arm of Reigns. Rusev grabbed the title belt at one point, but Reigns strikes back to stop the belt shot. Reigns then is thrown into the barricade. We go through a second break, of which we come back, and Rusev is on the microphone telling the audience to keep cheering for the Russian in Bulgarian.
Oh.
Okay. Reigns stops a superplex attempt and then hits a flying clothesline off the turnbuckle. Then Rusev goes back and works on the arm with 4 headbutts off the turnbuckle to the bad arm. He's getting frustrated that he cannot pin Reigns. He keeps kicking out. Reigns gets up. He goes for the Superman punch off the steps and into a kick to the ribs by Rusev. Rusev then runs at him into a Superman punch while in the ring, and Rusev kicks out. Reigns then goes for a spear but gets met with a knee and a head kick. He fights off the accolade. Then Reigns gets back up, sidesteps Rusev, and hits the spear off the ropes and pins him. 20 minutes and 35 seconds. I think if this match was just on its own, I didn't think it was a bad match, but at the end of this show, and knowing we're getting this again on Monday, this was 20 and a half minutes of why I have no interest in seeing this again on Sunday. They did the exact opposite of what a go-home segment should do for Sunday.
Yeah. Also, the crowd is very low energy, and I think partly because the stakes themselves are so ambiguous. I mean, also the idea that we know nothing will be resolved at the end of this match because they're going to have another match on Sunday. It really felt like it was just filling time.
Yeah, that's certainly. All right, that's going to wrap it up for us. SummerSlam is on Sunday, and we will be back on Wednesday afternoon at liveaudiowrestling.com reviewing SmackDown and the big Miz TV segment with Dolph Ziggler. So that wraps it up for us. He's Wei Ting. I'm John Pollock, and we'll speak with you later this week.